I don't know what's happened. Okay, you're live.
Outcomes. It's a mandatory outcome. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. There's some. Sorry. Just make sure that the host is just muted. Everyone's muted. I think that's good. Okay, so
no one can hear you.
So it's me.
Yes, you might have to go out.
Okay. Thank you. Just tell them technical issues and we're sorting it out.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, hang on. Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry. We had a few technical difficulties there. I'm just going to open up my slides and we can get started very shortly. Just a minute. I'm going to share my slides. Just taking a second here. Thank you for your patience. Okay. So I'm just opening up my messages because my host will text me via the messages here and I will just get started. So, okay, starting again. Welcome everyone. This is our webinar 8 from our dietitian webinar series, and I'm Kendra Francis, an accredited practicing dietitian. So this week I've been doing lots of research on weight loss plateaus, on GLP-1 medications and what they mean and what to do. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully all your questions will be answered throughout the webinar. Just to start off, I always say Apex Health is bringing the webinar series to you, and you're currently on your medical weight loss journey program. It is fully subsidised by Apex Health, which is amazing, and it's only for people who are eligible. So with getting the GLP-1 medications, they want to ensure that you have positive outcomes. So they make it mandatory to engage with a lifestyle program. So you can do it in 2 ways. The first being the DBA 12 allied health sessions. You get those every year. It's a treatment cycle. And if you are successful on that and you want to see the dietitian more, there is opportunities to extend that if you talk with your personal dietitian. But this is the other way you can engage in a lifestyle program, and it's just a webinar that can help you with little tips and tricks and covering little topics that you might come across on your journey. So today's webinar is on the weight loss plateau, and I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. So for any other assistance on your weight loss journey, you can always contact us at contact@apex.au. And they are very helpful with any of your questions if you want to plug in with any other health professionals as well. So our presentation overview, we'll do our refresh of medications, which I always do. It's just about the side effects and making sure you just be aware of things that you need to be wary of, and a couple of tips on how to manage side effects and get success. Then we'll go into a weight loss plateaus, what they are, what you can do when they happen, and there's a little bit of time for questions and answers. So let's get into it. The GLP-1 medication refresh, if you've heard it before, just bear with me. It's a weekly injection, and it provides the right conditions to reduce your weight. So giving yourself the GLP-1 medication isn't going to lose the weight. It's actually what it produces within the body. So it'll work on several body organs. So your pancreas by upregulating your ability to use the energy that comes into the body. Your liver by down-regulating or reducing the liver's ability to make that energy internally, so you're only using what's coming in. Your stomach, it slows the digestion through the stomach, so you're absorbing more nutrients and it's staying in there longer, making you feel satisfied. And it also works on your brain by reducing the food noise, so there's not as many cravings and food noise in there, so it's nice and quiet rather than thinking about what you should have and if you're hungry and all those sorts of things. So it works on several body organs to get the right conditions, but using those side effects or those treatments, you then have the weight loss. Common side effects, though, to having it, which are sometimes unpleasant, but luckily only temporary in a lot of cases, are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, a bit of reflux and fatigue. But these can all be managed by having smaller meals more regularly, so getting on top of how much food you can have in. Nausea is something that you can beat by having food in the stomach. It's counterintuitive, but if you have a small meal and then get on top of that, having something in the stomach will help settle it, but it'll also stop you from getting the fatigue because you need to have that food coming in, otherwise you'll get a little bit tired. Ensure you're having 2 to 3 litres of fluid each day. That is really important for getting rid of the waste products and helping with blood pressure and things like that, but also to make sure you have enough fluid for constipation, so it'll help combat that. Enjoy a wide range of plant-based foods in the diet. So plant-based foods are where you get your fibre from, which is bulking the stools and helping to manage your constipation, but it's also giving you lots of phytochemicals, nutrition, vitamins and minerals for health, so combating fatigue. Limit the intake of your high-fat foods. I think the food noise actually helps with this, and you actually do go for craving more healthful foods. But if you are having a high-fat food, it might sit in the stomach a little longer and make that reflux a little bit more noticeable or stick around for a little longer. And if you've overeaten that high-fat food, it might stay in the stomach a little longer because fat can slow digestion as well. But really just eating slowly and paying attention to those hunger signals and getting used to the smaller frequent meals. But when to seek help, these are more severe side effects and they need to be looked at by a GP. So if you have severe vomiting of undigested looking food, so after eating quite quickly, quite quickly after, if your undigested food is coming up, it's really important to get that checked. If you have severe stomach pains, that can be a couple of things going on, but if it is really getting sore and it's in the stomach and particularly to the side or radiating up the back, just see a GP. Diarrhea is the same. If it's severe and it's undigested looking foods, you're not absorbing anything, you'll get quite sick, see the GP. And also it's a non-painful lump in the throat, which can be a side effect. It can sometimes be accompanied by a husky voice, but if your voice changes in any way, get that checked as well. So they're the really important ones just to keep in mind and seek help when you notice any of those ones. But I always leave on the bottom here, 20% of individuals taking the GLP-1 medications become malnourished in a year of taking them. And that's just because of those side effects, getting on top of them, skipping meals. And they can be just as detrimental to health. So really staying on top of that nourishment is really important. You don't want to win one battle just to fight another. So let's get on to weight loss plateaus on GLP-1 medications. What are they? What do they mean? What do you do? So There is no clinical definition of a weight loss plateau. We just know that they happen. And it's widely known that it is a period of time where the weight loss seems to be stalled for no particular reason. And when we say stalled weight loss, we mean that the numbers, particularly on the scales, stop and stay the same for a number of weeks. So what really is important to know when you're looking at a weight loss plateau is just when it happens, look back from where you started, because you're on a plateau, but this isn't where you started. Go back and see how far you've come, because often there's a lot of downward trends before you get to your weight loss plateau. Remember, what are you trying to achieve here? Like, it's rarely just to have the numbers on the scales, because nobody knows but you what those numbers say. Remember what you're doing this for, and that might take a little bit of easing the pressure off. The weight on the scales may stall, but you are still looking for those particular outcomes from your weight loss. So in real essence, what are you looking for? You're looking for improvement in your quality of life, your function, your physical function to improve, freeing up your movement and your improved physical performance. Maybe you get around and run around with your grandkids or your children or something like that. Maybe it's just easier to get up and do all the things you need to do for the day or go to work. It will improve blood pressure, so it's always going to do that, and always keep a mindful eye on your blood pressure medication if you're getting dizzy and things like that. But it is so great to take all the pressure off the organs by reducing that blood pressure. It reduces pain in joints and increases your mobility and flexibility, but just really you're looking to increase your enjoyment in life, and that is not something that the scales will tell you. So what control do we actually have over weight loss? It is so lucrative, really. You do not control what we lose when we're losing weight. If we did, that would be so simple, because there would be no obesity or overweight in the community at all. If we did, we'd simply say, okay, now body, I want to take 5 kilograms off, and all of a sudden, bam, it would come off your stomach. It would happen. If we had control over it, we wouldn't not do that if that was something that we really wanted to do, but we cannot control it. So weight loss really is a mysterious thing, and although we can't control it, we can control our health behaviors that provide the right conditions to reduce the weight. So we can do that regardless of GLP-1's by eating a healthy balanced diet, by continuing to eat breakfast daily. That sets us up really well for a healthy day, breaks the fast, all the metabolism gets started, and we start with a nourishing, healthy kick, and that brings up our energy levels. Drinking plenty of fluids, exercising regularly, and getting regular sleep. These things are widely known to produce weight loss. So these are the things that we can control. We provide the right conditions by doing these things, and weight loss will happen. We still don't have control, though. We don't know how, where, when this weight loss will occur. So what and how much, it all is part of what happens behind the scenes. So outcomes we can see. We can also feel some, but we can also use tape measures and clothing and scales to help us assess how we're going. So that's just one part of it. So what really, when you're looking at weight on a scales, what is it? Our ultimate aim through the weight loss journey is obviously to just reduce the body fat, because we have excess body fat, and that is the things that can lead us down the path to chronic disease or make it harder to put more pressure on joints and things like that. So the benefit of losing just the body fat includes lowering your blood cholesterol. So that has a component in there that will increase blood cholesterols. It will tighten up blood sugar. So having excess fat reduces the signaling, and it also makes it less communication between body hormones and receptors within the body to tighten up the blood sugar or energy that goes in. It can reduce our risk of any chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, which are caused due to excess inflammation and fat storage. But it can also reduce our risk of some cancers. But what is in the scales? Like, what do we see when we step on the scales? What is that number? It is all fat, all muscle, all the organs, nails, bones, hair, blood, and waste products within the body. So that is what we are using to measure on our scales. We also measure our outfit that we're wearing. So thinking about, your jeans are heavier than your linen pants, or, different types of shoes weigh differently. So if they're all going on the scales, it is everything that goes on the scales that brings into this number. So it can be quite a bit of difference depending on what is going on within that body, isn't there? So the changes on the scales, some of them actually don't make a big difference to our health. So this can be things such as a change in hydration status. So that means you're thirsty and you haven't had much to drink in the day. You're feeling a little bit dehydrated. That means there's less water going through the body, and water actually weighs quite heavily on the scales. So 1 ml of water equals 1 gram on the scales. So just say if you had yourself a nice 400 ml glass of water, which is pretty typical, that will then weigh nearly ½ kilo on your scales. If you drink a litre, which is often what we do when we're thirsty, that will be a whole kilogram. So changes in that hydration can lead to a big difference on your scales. If for some reason you haven't gone to the bathroom and you're constipated due to, side effects of medication, or you just randomly you haven't gone for a couple of days, that is actually going to weigh on your scales as well, and it won't make a big difference to your essentially your fat storage on your body. Menstruation for women, you also do hold on to a lot of fluid during that time, so that can actually make you weigh differently on the scales. So another thing on the scales, there are some things that we don't want to change and that could show up on our scales. So that might be a loss of bone density. If we aren't having our calcium, we aren't getting our vitamin D, we're not going to have the healthy bone density, and we may lose some of that. That's not something that we want to have happen. We might reduce our muscle mass. And as you can see, I've got a picture there. I think it's probably widely known, but fat actually weighs a little less than what muscle does. So if you are losing muscle on your scales, it is going to show up higher. But that's not, if we're losing more, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a healthy loss, because we might lose our muscle, and that muscle is something that maintains our metabolism. It gives us our flexibility and our strength. We want to keep that. So it's actually good to have a slower loss, but it might be bigger in terms of all those health outcomes that we're looking for. So our evidence suggests that a good amount of weight loss for us is 0.25 of a kilogram, so 1/4 of a kilogram, which is 250 grams, to a kilogram a week. And that does ensure that it's fat loss and no other important body tissues, such as your lean body mass, which is what we really want to preserve, and why we always recommend to have protein-rich diets on GLP-1 medications. So the speed of weight loss. Now, I know I said the 0.25 to 1 kilo loss per week. Sometimes it's a little bit bigger, and it's not really to scare you, but it is good to have it a little less. But really, in the beginning, when you're starting your GLP-1 medications, you may lose a little bit higher. And there's a couple of reasons why. On the scales, you might see it's like a little bit higher because of glycogen loss. So that is a big word. I'm just going to tell you that glycogen is one of the storages of energy on the body that is the fastest to access. So when you're doing an endurance-based run, you're going for a long time, they will use up the glycogen stores because it's a nice, easy form of energy. What it is it's sitting in your muscles and your liver, and it's quick to go. It's a type of carbohydrate, which carbohydrates are all our energy. But glycogen, when it is depleted, you have probably about 500 grams, but it holds onto water. And as we know, water is very heavy. So there's about 3 grams of water per gram of glycogen. So when you're thinking of just that 500 grams, which is ½ kilo on the scales, you're actually looking at more like 2 kilos. So once you lose that, first of all, then you get access to all the fat stores. So you're going to lose a lot more the first couple of weight losses, because that glycogen is what you're losing first. So it doesn't mean you're losing muscle. It's just a different type of fat, like energy storage to your fat, and you need to get rid of it to get to the fat stores. So that's one exception. The other one is the higher proportion of weight that you have to lose. Obviously, you're going to lose. So if you have more kilograms to lose, the proportion that you'll lose will be higher. So when you start off, it might be higher, and as you keep going, it might get a little lower. When the amount we have to lose is lower, the percentage loss is smaller as well. And as you get closer to that goal weight, it can be a little bit slower. So there's so many books out there about the last 5 kilos, and that's because it is a smaller percentage. So as you get closer, the plateaus might be a little bit more common. A little bit more that I should have said about your carbs is, so there's something, that glycogen, that can be a storage that can happen. So if you are having things that are high in carbohydrates, so you might have heard of carb loading, and that's my sign there that has just reminded me. Some people that are athletes carb load before an endurance race, and that's eating lots of pasta meals, and that will put a lot of that glycogen storage for use of quick energy on long runs. So they have that energy stored right there, and it's good for endurance and energy longevity. So if you are having lots of carbs, so that could be your breads, your cereals, your pastas, rices, any carbohydrate, you could be adding to that glycogen store, and that may affect your weight. So that's just something to keep in mind as well, and why I wanted to just say something about the glycogen as well. So now I'll move on to what you expect when you're losing weight. So weight loss, even though we can't control it and say we want to lose this much each week, we control the behaviors. It usually has a downward trend. So starting up here, but it does not always go like a straight line. It's not a straight linear line downwards. So people tend to have a weight loss pattern. Now think about how you've been losing over the weeks, and just have a think if it's been big, medium, small, nothing, or a gain. All of these things are within the normal range. I went on a weight loss journey before starting even dietetics, because I just had a really interest in food. But my weight loss through a big company that I went to was big loss, little loss, no loss. And I would be, yes, oh, bummer. And it would happen continuously until I got my head around it and thought, oh my goodness, that is my pattern. So I would go knowing what to expect. Sometimes I'd still get my surprises, but often it was just following that pattern. And sometimes in the mix, some people have a gain in there as well, a regular gain, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with what they're doing. The body is just absolutely mysterious. There is no rhyme or reason to it. Just have a think about your pattern. And if you're interested in sharing, you can put it in the chat box and just check what everybody else's is, and whether if you have a pattern or if it is just completely random for you and dependent on your behaviors. So if the scales don't move this week, or even hadn't moved the previous week, it could just be normal and part of your overall pattern, and obviously nothing really to worry about. However, if the plateau continues for a long time, and generally the accepted time would be about 8 weeks, which is quite a long time. And I think more likely you might feel a little bit more worried if it's a 4-week pattern even. But this type of a weight loss plateau is when we are talking about a real plateau. And that's when you come to think, oh my goodness, am I doing something wrong? But plateaus do not mean you're doing anything wrong. And I will just repeat that. Let me repeat it. You are likely not doing anything wrong at all. It is lots of things going on underneath that need to be happening for your body. It's just a rejig of what's happening underneath, and the weight loss will continue to occur. And honestly, healthy behaviors and healthy things are happening underneath that plateau that just don't show on the scales. So plateaus occur in a large percentage, like 80 to 85% of people embarking on a weight loss journey. And it's not specific to a GLP-1 medication. They happen in all types of weight loss situations. And when the barrier comes up, and the answer is rarely one of, I really need to restrict more and try harder and exercise more if I'm already doing all those really good behaviors. Lots of times it's an internally change going on. It's not being seen on the scales, which can be a good way of us to check on our weight loss journey, but not the only one. So continue taking the injections, continue those regular balanced meals with adequate proteins and varied adequate fiber to keep the bowels moving, drinking plenty of water and regular exercise, because there's honestly usually not a lot that you're doing wrong, and it's just persistence to keep doing the right thing. So keep your focus and jump off that mental roller coaster. Think about how often you weigh yourself as well. Like if it is a little too often, multiple times a day or even daily, doesn't give you a very clear picture of weight loss. Often, non-weight related, non-fat loss related things can fluctuate your scales numbers. And like we've mentioned, your hydration status, if you've had a drink of water, your glycogen storage, you've had a few big carby meals during the week or something like that. Maybe you've got an inflammation or something. You have any type of inflammation in the body or pain, swollen ankle or, menstruation or anything like that can have inflammation, and that is going to carry water with it. Your bowel habits, if they haven't moved. So these things are unrelated to your weight loss. And sometimes unhelpful thoughts come on that roller coaster. So did I do something wrong? Is the medication not working for me anymore? Did I build up a tolerance? The answer to these is likely no. And so this mindset can send you into a spiral and lead to further unnecessary restrictions. So keep your head up, and here is where I recommend to focus instead. So like we mentioned, focus on your trends over time. Try and see if there's any trends, and keep your weigh-in to a maximum of once weekly. So I always recommend of using the 4 W's. So it's about getting yourself a regular day. So always doing it at the same time. Wake up, do a wee, weigh yourself, and then write it down. Using the same scales is really helpful, and making sure you've got a flat surface underneath your scales so that you're not using, not getting any unreliable weights there. And just keep a track just once a week. And using non-scale victories is a great place to focus when plateaus happen. How do your clothes feel? Have you dropped a size? Are they feeling a little bit looser? Can you move more freely? Is there a bit of bagginess in the legs or the bottom? Or have you tightened your belt a notch? Are you sleeping better? And that means, are you falling to sleep a little more easily? Are you waking up feeling energized and ready to tackle your day? Do you have less wake-ups through the day? How is your range of movement? Can you get down on your knee and get up by yourself unassisted where you couldn't before? Is it, easier to run around with your kids or your grandkids? Have you improved your energies? So yeah, that's that vitality and just being able to tackle all those things you need to do throughout the day. The inflammation in your body, is there less bloating? Is there, is your skin clearer? That's a great indicator of health. Food cravings being reduced and better digestion as well. So all of these things are really great places to focus. And remember that nobody's worth is tied to that number on the scales. You are worthy regardless of what that number is, and you deserve all respect and enjoyment of life regardless of how it goes. And true that through your weight loss journey, remember there's always trends, ups and downs. They could be stalls, but there's always going to be a push through and a loss at the end of that process. So what if it is a very long time? So really, we're all human, and over time, it is normal, absolutely normal, for habits to loosen up. The newness has faded. You may be a bit tired of doing what you've been doing every day, and this is absolutely normal within weight loss journeys. So this can result in you no longer tracking your portions, not looking at how much you're putting on. Maybe the incidental steps have dropped. There's a bite here or there and you're eating on the run, not planning your meals, and maybe they're sneaking up in kilojoules without noticing. And some of those bites here and there might be low in nutrition and high in fat, and they're snack foods. But this is, remember, all human, and it's part of a lifelong journey. So you cannot expect yourself not to indulge every now and again, because Christmas happens and special occasions. There's weddings, there's birthdays, there's Easter, and all of these things are things you need to celebrate and enjoy in life. So remember to be human and not to be too bogged down in them. But plateaus are a good time to refresh on the basics. So have a think about how things have been going. Am I eating my whole foods? Are they minimally processed? These are the things that our body is going to really enjoy and nourish our body with high amounts of nutrition, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, polyphenols, antioxidants. So that is really, really what our body needs and craves. And are we giving it to it? How is my hydration? Do I need to set a timer and get myself back on top? Am I having enough water? Am I making my 2 to 3 litres? Am I watching the high sugar, high fat foods? Or have I started eating out more often? And am I moving my body every day in ways that I love? These small shifts or changes really can make a big difference. So looking at those. So common places to investigate. We'll go through a few. So you're snacking, little bits and bites of food that we don't even notice. If we don't sit down and eat, sometimes our body does not even register that we've had it. So I see it in the clinic when I'm doing my 24-hour recalls with my patients. I can ask them and they'll be like, oh, I don't think I've had anything between. And I will always get 3 meals if nobody's skipping. But sometimes the snacks that they tell me in the end, they're not accounted for because they're on the run and they can't remember them. So it's a thing that, sometimes if we're eating here and there and not sitting down, our bodies do not register what we've eaten. So maybe try to sit down to eat. Have yourself a nice space to sit down and really relax and eat well. Giving yourself a break, taking it away from your desk at work, or sitting down to have your breakfast rather than sitting at the breakfast bar. Again, with, your TV, turning all your distractions off and having a meal at the table with people, if you have the people around you, or even if not, just giving yourself the space. Your eating starts with your eyes. Sit down, present yourself with a beautiful meal and start to enjoy it. Another thing could be writing down what you're eating. So a common help for weight loss is having a weight loss journal. So writing down everything. Sometimes it's not even to just calculate it. It is to give yourself a look at trends. Maybe I get really hungry on night times when I skip my lunch meal and I'm too busy and I overeat, or it's just a really good thing to see how your pattern of eating works. And actually, by writing it down, there is 15 to 20% less intake when you're just writing it down. So you don't even have to calculate it, and it happens on its own. Planning 3 consistent meals a day. So that can stop the in-between snacking as you're going. You've already sat down, you've given yourself the time to eat it, and you move on to the next. So 3 meals is great. If you're hungry in between, the snacks are awesome as well. But snacks are only there for getting you through to the next meal. If you're happy with 3 meals, that's okay as well. And also revisiting your portion sizes, just watching, you're getting this portion size of your meat, which is the palm of your hand, probably your carbs, and then you can have 2 cups for your veggies as well at your nighttime meals. Common place to investigate is physical activity. So when we start the journey, of course, our motivation is always the highest. As the journey continues, sometimes you might find you start losing motivation, particularly if, those plateaus do happen and the scales aren't moving. What is happening? But you can also find that you may have had high expectations of yourself in regards to your exercise and giving yourself a really high target and found that you maybe didn't make it, and got a little bit demotivated and found that the demand was too high at the time. So I call that the bang and bust. And it's okay to start small if you haven't exercised for a while, and then just build gradually, because actually, if you haven't done much, a small amount of exercise has a really big impact. Or, of course, life gets busy. We all know things just do get away on us and we lose time. So here's where you could maybe try to start small, 5 minutes a couple of times a week. It all adds up. Even using the incidental exercise, you could use the stairs rather than the elevator or travelator, or park further away and walk, or use public transport. You always have to do a lot of walking in between. And also choose the activities that you really enjoy. If there's something you've always wanted to try it. It will not even feel like any activity, effort. I mean, it will feel enjoyable. Engage a friend. I know recently my daughter has liked the park runs, and it's amazing. She's 5. No, she's 7. She'll kill me outside of 5. But she's 7, and I just have to wake up in the morning because I know she wants to go. So my alarm goes off. I go, oh, it's cold. And then I go ask her, I say, Paige, do you want to go? And she's like, yeah, I want to go to park run. So I'm going to park run. Engaging a friend and having them meet you there is an amazing motivator to get to an exercise class or go for a walk. And it's also a great place to, catch up as well. Got a lot of talking you can do over that 5 kilometers. Timing your activity for the most energetic time of the day. Even if research says that it's best to do it in the morning. If you just do not want to get out of bed, that's fine. Do it later in the afternoon or the evening. Do it when you want to, and you'll enjoy it much more. And mix it up and try something different. And this one is one that I love to talk about because being a dietitian, food is my life, and I love making sure that the body is nourished because we want to nourish the body and get the most out of it. That's when you'll hit your peak performance. Your brain will be clearer. Your activities will be easier. The stress will be lower. So if you think you're not getting enough, this is the last one because I wanted there's a little bit more, but this is one I really wanted to drive home because you need to get the energy. Your body needs the vitamins and nutrients. There is a minimum amount of food and energy that you need to give the body in order to live. And if you don't do it, it will start to stagnate and you won't reach your weight loss goals. So maybe try and make sure that you're meeting the guidelines, which I'll talk about in a few slides, but try and make sure you're eating 3 main meals to be able to reach that target of minimum amount of energy and food that you need in the day. Eat your largest meal when you're the most hungriest. So if you just really can't do it in the morning, something small is great. And that can build as the nausea or as the appetite increases as you get your tolerance to the new dose of GLP-1 medications. But have your biggest meal when you're most hungry to get the most nutrition in, and use that plate portion guide, half a plate of veggies, your carbs and your meat, just to get the balanced meal in there. Set alarms to remind yourself to eat. So sometimes we just don't feel hungry in the morning. Small is good. Just start small. Have a banana, a yogurt, a drink of milk, a coffee, whatever. And then have that within an hour of waking, and then set your alarm for another 3 hours to 4 hours to have yourself a lunch meal, and then set it again for 3 to 4 hours. But just remind yourself to eat, because sometimes when that food noise is gone and the appetite is suppressed, we can sometimes forget, but it is really important. So if you're not eating enough of the energy and nutrients, you may be at risk of fatigue, which can spiral. So you're not getting enough, you could be malnourished, and then other health concerns come. All right, we'll move on to sleep. Sleep and weight loss. There is a big connection. So you're not getting enough sleep, that can affect you on the scales, but getting enough sleep is important for many, many reasons. And the connection between weight loss and weight is and sleep is real. So how does sleeping help us lose weight? We are not doing anything while we're sleeping, and that is during the night we're not eating either, so our metabolic rate will reduce. However, all of that recuperation and all that restoration happens while you are sleeping, and there's such important things going on for repair and removal of wastes and things. So it's really to set you up in the daytime. So that is really well needed. So it helps regulate your hormones. So there's a couple of hormones that are really important with your appetite. So ghrelin and leptin. And so one tells you when you're hungry, like the gremlins, they want to eat. And then the leptin will tell you when you're full and to stop eating. So this is sleep regulates those hormones that are responsible. When you are tired as well, when you wake fatigued, people chase that energy, and eating gives you a lift. It's a temporary lift, but you think, oh yes, okay, great. And your body is smart. It will go for the energy lifters, which are high in sugar and energy, but it will crash. So it will only be, like it says, a temporary lift. If you've got less energy, it means you've got less motivation to sleep, and that can come from being tired. So again, these things are all a holistic look at how to get that weight loss and how to improve your health. So less motivation to exercise, that will be less tired, less effective sleep. And when you are tired and hungry, you do not feel like cooking or planning your meals, and it will lead to poorer choices, being at the mercy of whatever you can scrounge together. If you're out and not prepared, you can have high energy choices as your only option. So it's really getting on top of the planning and stuff by being nice and rested. Poor sleep is also associated with higher cortisol levels, which are associated with stress, and that is a sugar response. So you'll have inflammation and sugar and extra weight on the scales as well, with those cortisone levels being increased. It will increase the resistance to that nice blood glucose regulation, and it can lead to insulin resistance, and it can lead to higher levels of oxidative stress because the recuperation and repair is not happening. And oxidative stress, of course, is linked with chronic disease and cancers. So sleep is really, really important. So there are a couple of things can help you with your sleep. Sleep and coffee or caffeine are connected. Caffeine is a stimulant. It naturally occurs in a few foods, coffee, tea, chocolate, and it can be artificially added to others such as cola drinks, energy drinks, and your sports supplements. It will tell you if it's caffeinated, and it has some really beneficial effects on the body. And I won't go into all of them, but one of them is the stimulant. When we feel tired, if we have caffeine, it can make us more alert. So often we'll do it to improve our mental alertness in the mornings. But it is good to limit to 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. So if you're looking at your sports supplements, just have a look and see how much is in it. And if you're having other things with that caffeine in there, it can affect your sleep. It can not only affect your sleep, but can play into anxieties as well. So it is a limit of 400 milligrams of caffeine per day for health. And different things have different amounts. So if you're looking at what you're getting from the coffee shop, your espresso, that will have about 145 milligrams if you're looking at it. So that will quickly add up. 2 is a good limit if you're going to get them brewed or from the cafe. If you're having an energy drink or you're making your own coffee with your teaspoons, that's about 80 milligrams. And then when you're looking at teas, it can be anywhere from 28 to 45. And then again, it will lower for your cola drinks. They're about 30-ish, 35. And then lower again for chocolate, about 10 milligrams. But if you're having a late night snack on chocolate, that might have something to do with coming in and disrupting that sleep. So 400 milligrams from all sources. If you're pregnant, it's 200, or breastfeeding 200. And obviously for kids, it's a little bit less. It depends on their weight. But maybe just a cola drink or something chocolate like that could be what they are gonna, if they're gonna have an energy drink, it's gonna push them probably over their limit, which is about 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, if you wanted to work that out for any littlies. And a good guide for caffeine, particularly if you're having a coffee from a barista or something like that, is finish up by 2 p.m. and that will give it a nice amount of time to be able to be processed by the body and reduced and let go, so it's not affecting sleep. It does take about 6 hours. For kids, 24 hours for that to get through. Sleep and alcohol, there is a connection with them. So minimize alcohol. It will stop the really restorative sleep, and it disrupts the sleep cycles, if you know anything about sleep cycles. But really, it just inhibits the really good sleep. It can make you feel tired, and you can somewhat pass out or sleep really quickly, but it can lead to you waking up multiple times during the night. And if you hydrate, which is really good to reduce the effects of the alcohol and get rid of it and have less of effect on sleep in particular. But remember, the drinking of extra water may also disrupt your sleep by extra trips to the toilet as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Tips for good sleep, just to round it all off, is keep a regular waking schedule. That's more important even than the sleep time, but keeping a regular sleep and wake time can help you regulate your sleep and get you into a circadian rhythm. If you keep it regular, by a few weeks, you won't even have to look at the time. You'll be able to tell by your body's reaction to awakefulness or sleepiness and figure out that, oh, yeah, it's probably 9:30, ready for me to go to bed. And also with that, try turning it around and going to sleep on your first yawn, because that is when you're tired. Your body will naturally relax. You can have a little routine leading up to it, like a shower, stopping eating, shower, a wind down, turning off all devices an hour before, and wind yourself down. But when you are tired, take yourself to bed because your body will fall asleep much easier. You'll get something that's called, like you can see it in kids, a second wind, and then it's much harder. There'll be cortisol and a bit of a harder time to get to sleep if you push through that and get that second wind. Like I mentioned, stop out eating 2 hours before if you want to go to sleep. It just means that all the food is kind of going through the body and it's not sitting in the digestive tract and giving you a little bit of bloating or grief that way, but it also helps you relax as well. So if you're got some food in there, perked up, bit of energy, you can tell that, when you're eating later at night, that can get you through. And often the higher sugar snacks are the things that you'll eat when you're up late at night. So if you cut that out, have your dinner, bit of dessert if you want to, and then just let it wind down and start that wind down for sleep. If you're awake, if you go to bed and you're awake for longer than 20 minutes, it's a really good thing to get up because your body will associate that with being awake in bed and connect those two things. So we don't want our body to think that we can stay awake and lay awake in bed. Get up and do something very boring. So not something that will excite you. Often they're where you'll read self-help books. I read my kids' raising child books. Or do some ironing. That's boring. But don't watch TV or scroll phones or answer emails or get on anything with a bright light behind it because that will awaken you even further. And what you want to do is just relax and get back into sleep. So when you feel tired, go straight back to sleep and hopefully you'll go down a little bit quicker. But you can meditate as well. They're beautiful meditations, especially an Insight Timer, which is a little app that you can use on the phone, and that can do progressive muscle relaxations or just a nice guided relaxing to sleep there. The next one is save your bed and bedroom for sleeping. The body then knows that it is time for sleep. You can also obviously sex is something you'll do in the bedroom as well, so the body will be excited to go to bed and then you can go to sleep. But yeah, just save that for, don't watch TV or read in your bed because that will also make that association between reading or staying awake while in your bed. Sleep in a dark, cool room, and what you can do to keep the circadian rhythm is expose yourself to light shortly after waking, and really management of stress, because that can be something that can keep us awake. A couple of tips for stress management. Those progressive muscle relaxations and meditations are amazing. A little bit of breathing. Box breathing is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and then hold for 4, and then start it all again. Or any type, in for 4, out for 8. That's really relaxing as well. Journaling is really good for getting anything out. If you've got something that you're ruminating or thinking about, just have a journal on the side of your bed and write it out, because that can really get it out of your mind. It can sort it out, and it'll be there ready for you in the morning. You can also use your journal for goal setting or gratitude, and that's a really good way to go to sleep at night. Effective time management helps with stress, and also learning to just say no if the commitments are, you don't have the time, energy, or space to do something, or you don't want to. It's okay to set boundaries and say no and be okay with it. Dancing, it's amazing how much that will uplift your feelings and your attitude and your mind. 30-second dance party. I love it with my kids. It can definitely change. We play a game called Dance, Dance, Freeze, and it's fun. And mindfulness, but really knowing that this stress management is a great thing, and that if you need help with sleep, there's no need to hold on to it, and you can get help from psychologists, counselors, and even a first step is your GP. And if you do need help with stress management, do contact us here at Apex, contact at apex.au, and we can help you out with making those connections to help you. So lastly, I'm coming to the end of the slides. So give yourself a shake up. Those plateaus are just the body just needing a bit of a shake up, check her out. She's doing a dance party. I love that picture. So add in some resistance training if you haven't already. It's amazing what it can do and surprising what it can do. So you don't have to do it formally. You can. There's EPs you can see through your allied health sessions, 12 sessions a year, which are amazing. But even so, you can do it at home, and it's a couple of lunges or squats while you're waiting for your coffee or your kettle to boil or something like that, or your toast to toast. Maybe it's going through a doorway and just giving yourself a couple of wall push-ups. You know, those all do add up, and you're building the muscle. It's just a constant repetitive strain on the muscles or tension on the muscles to build that. But yeah, resistance training is a great tip. Shake up your cardio if you're doing some walking, or you want to do some adventurous HIIT training, that's interval training, or you want to go swimming, which is a low, it doesn't put a lot of pressure on your joints. It's very nice and easy going on any joint pain and things like that. Low resistance. And then you've got yoga. Even just kick a ball around, or do a team sport if you want to. But something that the body is not used to, shake it up. If you're regularly eating the same things, maybe it's a cereal at breakfast, a sandwich at lunch, and then meat and veg at dinner, shake it up a bit. Maybe you're going to have some porridge or toast or eggs, beans, something for brekkie, a salad at lunch, or soup, being the warm weather, and a stew at night. But just shaking it up and bringing in some variety, a bit of different foods would be a good shake up. Check you're reaching the meat and dairy recommendations, which is about 2 to 3 depending on your age, and that will help with calcium and your protein, good protein in those two things. I remember having a client who came to see me, and she wasn't eating any dairy and didn't want to, and I encouraged her, and she did nothing else but increases her dairy, and she's like, I'm going to put on weight. She came and she had actually lost weight. So like I mentioned, it's a mysterious thing. Getting those vital nutrients is really important. So plenty of fruit and some veggies for those phytochemicals and vitamins, minerals, and mix it up, eat the rainbow. So everything is a different vitamin or mineral in a different color. Just make it beautiful on your plate. You start with your eyes and enjoy those meals. Focus on trying different proteins. So if you're usually a steak person, or you have a lot of chicken, maybe you want to try some pork or turkey, even kangaroo or lamb, something like that. And try the newest, healthiest protein internet craze if you want to. Sometimes there's some really delicious things, like they'll make bark with high protein yogurts, a little smack of like nuts and fruits, and chuck it in the freezer and break it up, and it's a nice good snack. Or maybe there's lots of high protein supermarket snacks. Just make sure you're looking for the high star rating on those. But yeah, just trying them and giving them a little go. Just shaking it up a bit. And it is not just about losing weight. This journey is to make you strong and metabolically healthy. So really maintaining that body and making this weight loss last a lifetime and giving you more years. So keep the faith in your GLP-1 medication. It can be tempting to check out the latest craze or fad diet you see, but trust the process on GLP-1 medication. We're past that. Let it all go and let the medication do its work and plug into what you really need. Remember, you can be a larger size and really healthy. So a higher weight, very healthy, if you're doing all the right things, exercising, eating well, and sleeping. But you can also be a very low weight and very unhealthy. So really pick the one that you want to be. Benefits from as little as 5 to 10% weight loss are huge in terms of your longevity and your reduction in chronic diseases and your health in general terms. So sustainable long-term changes that you adopt as ongoing habits are just amazing in losing that 5 to 10% and getting all the benefits that are listed here, like reduced fat within your liver, reduced brain fog, nice clarity in your thoughts, higher energy levels, improved strength, joint mobilities, control over your blood glucose, and it helps with stress management and your sleep quality. They all work in together. So that 5 to 10% is amazing, and give yourself a pat on the back wherever you are on your journey. So my final words today is just, as you can see, you're doing great. Keep it up, keep going. weight loss is a downward trend. It has flat spots, but things could be happening underneath that are really important. So just on these flat spots, keep your eyes on the prize and keep doing all the great, wonderful changes and great health behaviors that you're doing. Continue to build on them and strengthen them one at a time. It's only a small step that's needed, and maintaining the small habits is so much more important than trying and the big ones. So small things make a big difference. You don't need to push harder. You don't need to, go to the extreme in exercise or restriction. Just keep showing up and doing the best you can. This is a lifelong thing, and trust the process of the GLP-1s. Don't slip up for a quick fix or a fad diet. They're not worth it. They're usually too good to be true, and they are. And sometimes it's really about just letting go of those scales and pivot a little bit to look around at the changes and the benefits that you've achieved so far. And that's just all you need to refocus. Step away. You don't need to know the number on the scales. There's many other things that can show you what you're doing in terms of your health. So that is it for my presentation today. Thank you so much for coming and joining. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat, and I've got my host here with me that can text me anyone that has any questions. So I'll just put this down.
I'm actually just going to reach out and let you know what they are. Can you hear me, Kendra?
Yes.
Okay, so we've had a few questions, and I'm just going to go up to the top. Mm-hmm. Kathleen's asked what the best supplement is for food-wise for constipation.
Okay, cool. So they are, if you're looking for natural, I always go for pear juice. It really is a working one. You can do dried fruit such as prunes. Kiwi fruits are ones that really do get you going, and also avocados and anything with the fruit, anything starting with a P usually is really good. So they're your naturals. When you're looking at if it has taken a hold, maybe some medications like Movicol would be a good place to start. But really to manage it ongoing is just making sure you've got your fluid, a little bit of exercise, and your fiber. But don't increase your fiber as in your grains and cereals, or even like Metamucil psyllium husk, without adding your water in there, because if there is such a thing as too much fiber, and it can, especially while it's transitioning slowly through the bowel, the water can absorb and it can further constipate you. So try for your soluble fibers, which are your pear juice, prunes, fruits, because they're nice and soft and going to make it nice and easy to push. And then your roughage is to get your bulking there. Hopefully that helped.
We did have other people saying that Movicol was really helpful.
Yep.
Vincent's asked if the timing of food intake is important. Like, is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or gaps in between snacks if required?
Yes, yeah, exactly what you've said there. We do start with regular meals of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The breakfast is often called the most important because you are stopping eating. You've got a low metabolism overnight and you want to get it started and kickstart it during the day. It doesn't matter, really. You need a certain amount, but to get it in, you'll need to eat more regularly. You can't really get it all in at once. And if you have it at your main meal at nighttime, you can tend to overeat. It'll take a lot of food, but that can stretch your stomach to be big. And it can also lead to some reflux if you're going to sleep with a big stomach of food. Having it small doses over the day is a lot better. And the other thing is it will regulate. You'll have smaller meals. You'll be full of quicker. You can stay nice and satisfied and hungry. Your glycogen and your insulin, which are two hormones that are affecting your intake and absorption of your food, do have like a wave over the day. So if you eat, you'll be satisfied and then you'll start to really be hungry again. And if you don't eat, you'll get the body giving yourself some energy from the liver, which is downgraded with your GLP-1s, but you'll want to eat then so that you can have that natural flow. The earlier you start, the better it will go and flow. You will feel hungrier more often starting at breakfast, but it will you'll consume less. If you wait until you're hungry, you might not feel hungry at breakfast. Keep going. But once you eat, then you'll be harder to fill yourself. You'll overeat and eat more at that point, and then it'll be is not as wavy as you will if you are starting at brekkie. Hope that one answers.
The last question is exercise vital? As Richard has said that he's got an injury, a chronic injury.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go into a 20-80 rule, but it's 80% food and 20% exercise, but exercise does have other benefits to it. Chronic injuries and pain are really a barrier to exercise, but you can definitely reach out at contact@apex.au and get a referral through to a physio or EP, because they can help you specifically, like even a massage or give you some really slight exercises that can loosen and reduce your pain. So it is that could be your first start. Maybe it's just relaxing, stretching, massage, all that sort of thing to get the pain a little lower, and just find out what you can handle. So low resistance things like being in a pool or something like that you enjoy could help with exercise, but there are many benefits to exercise, such as, the endorphins that you'll release, that help with sleep, stress management, all of those things that hopefully an EP or a physio would be able to help you with on the pain management side. But no, you're right. Food is a higher percentage of what will give you weight loss, but exercise has so many benefits if you can. Yeah. All right. Any more there that you can see, Kelly?
No more questions.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody got what they needed out of today, and thank you so much for coming and staying. We love having these webinars and getting to touch base with you and answer any questions that you have. If you have any topics that you want to cover or anything like that, we always love to see any suggestions on our webpage, on our Facebook page. Come and see and say hello there. But otherwise, we'll see you in a month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.